Well, share markets globally performed very strongly this week, of course, following that quantitative easing program announced by the ECB, but also some solid data continuing to come out of the US. As we know, markets really had been pricing in a massive bond buying program to be announced by the ECB last night. And obviously, following that announcement, we really saw markets rallying after that positive surprise, which really came well ahead of market expectations. The question obviously was all about the size and the duration of that program, and certainly the ECB didn't disappoint, announcing the injection of 60 billion euros a month until about September next year, with potentially longer to go if needed. Having a look at the US, we saw solid housing data coming through and also corporate earnings. So far, about 79% of companies have actually beaten on earnings expectations. Having a look in China, we saw that GDP growth coming through at 7.4%, and that actually beat market expectations, although that is the weakest growth that we have seen in about 24 years or so. We did see Chinese share markets coming under pressure following the crackdown on that margin trading. And finally, in Australia, we did see that consumer sentiment rebounding off the back of those lower fuel prices and, of course, the stronger employment outlook. So for the week, the ASX 200 has actually closed up 3.8%, and that was really led higher by the materials sector, up 6.2%, following those positive production reports from BHP and Rio. And we also saw those high-yielding and defensive sectors performing strongly. So property up 4.75%, followed by financials up 4%, and that actually now puts us into positive territory for 2015, up about 1.7%. Having a look at the week ahead, of course, in Australia, the two main focus points will be firstly in terms of NAB's business confidence on Tuesday, but also that December quarter inflation data, which is due to be released on Wednesday. And of course, we are expecting that to potentially come in below the RBA target, and that certainly leaves plenty of scope for the RBA to cut those interest rates. Having a look at the US, I think the Fed commentary due out on Wednesday is going to be very closely watched, particularly in terms of the timing of those interest rate hikes. And of course, over in Europe, I think the main focus will be on the outcome of that Greek election on Sunday. Looking at the corporate side of things, those US earnings will continue to be ramping up, and also a lot of the miners over here in Australia will be continuing to come out with their production reports. So we have the likes of BC Iron, Atlas Iron, Fortescue, Newcrest, Oz Minerals, all coming out with production reports next week. So it certainly will be another big week ahead, a lot to focus on, but I do certainly think markets may potentially continue to rally off the back of that ECB decision.